Everyone knows the story of Hachiko. He's the world's most loyal dog, the one who waited at the train station for 9 years for his master, who was never coming back. It's a beautiful story about devotion, immortalized in movies, and that famous bronze statue at Tokyo's Shibuya Station. We love this story because it represents a pure, unconditional love that feels so rare in our world. But what if the story you know is incomplete? What if the heartwarming tale of the loyal dog was the perfect cover for something else entirely? Not because the dog's loyalty was fake, but because his famous vigil may have hidden another one. Imagine a different figure in the shadows of that bustling station, waiting for something far more terrifying than a returning friend. While the nation was celebrating an animal's love, a much darker watch might have been kept, one that has been completely written out of the official narrative. Hachiko's presence was undeniable. His routine was so consistent, so heartbreaking, that it drew people in. But he wasn't always alone. People often overlooked the man. He appeared shortly after Professor Ueno's death. At first, he was just a fleeting figure in the corner of one's eye, always there when Hachiko sat, but never noticed long enough to recall his face. Some said he wore black, others said his clothes were soaked, as if he'd just come in from the rain, on days when there was no rain at all. He didn't speak, he didn't beg, he didn't even move much, just stood there, watching. At first, commuters ignored him, but over time, those who passed the station frequently began to talk. Whispers circulated, rumors, and eventually, fear. Some began to say he wasn't a man at all. A woman named Emmy, a station worker, was among the first to speak openly about the figure. She told a friend that every night when she closed the station, she would hear footsteps behind her. Always just one step behind, always echoing her own. When she turned around, the corridor would be empty, but cold, bitingly cold, like something had just moved through the air but left no trace. She resigned 2 weeks later after being hospitalized for what doctors called a nervous episode. She'd been found screaming in the stairwell beneath the platform, repeating the same phrase over and over. He was watching the dog, but not like us. He wasn't watching for love. One night in 1930, a student named Daichi decided to sketch Hachiko for a school project. He sat on a nearby bench and began to draw. The next morning, he was found in his dorm, unconscious, with both eyes wide open and unblinking. His drawing, found clutched in his hands, showed not just a dog, but a man. But in the drawing, the man's face was twisted. No eyes, just two hollow, gaping voids. And his mouth, stretched far wider than humanly possible, grinned like a split wound. Daichi never spoke again. His classmates tried to burn the sketch, but the flames refused to take it. The paper blackened, but didn't burn. One of them tried tearing it, and their fingers bled before the page even ripped. No one kept the drawing. They buried it in the woods outside Tokyo. From that point forward, sightings of the Watcher increased. That's what people began calling him, the Watcher. Some said he wasn't real, just a psychological projection of the public's grief, magnified by Hachiko's tragic loyalty. But others weren't so sure. A janitor at the station, an old man named Kenji, claimed he once followed the Watcher when the figure moved, just once, when it stepped away from its usual pillar. Kenji followed him down an unused corridor, deep within the station. He said the man didn't walk exactly it slid, his feet never lifting, the air shimmering around him like a mirage. Kenji never reached the end of the hall. He turned back, terrified, and later told the bar patron that the man wasn't walking towards something. He was guarding it, keeping it in. He died a week later in his sleep. The autopsy noted he'd suffered a heart attack, but his face, those who saw it said, was frozen in horror, eyes wide open, mouth open in a silent scream. The sightings continued, but something strange happened. Hachiko, gentle, faithful Hachiko, began to change. He still sat in his usual spot, but he grew restless at certain times, specific times. Every year, on the anniversary of Professor Ueno's death, he would not sit. He would pace, his ears back, tail tucked, eyes wide, and darting toward the far end of the station, the dark corridor where the Watcher was last seen. Once, in 1933, a group of school children were gathered around Hachiko. It was Ueno's death anniversary. As the children posed for a photo, the photographer asked them to smile. Just as the shutter clicked, all of the children screamed and ran. In the developed photo, behind Hachiko, stood the Watcher, but only half of him. The other half was gone, like it had already begun merging with the shadows. People started avoiding the station at night. Strangers would walk in, asking for trains that didn't exist. A foreign traveler once asked for a ticket to where the dog waits forever. When asked to clarify, he smiled with bleeding gums and walked into the tunnel, never to be seen again. Eventually, the government stepped in, not to remove the statue. No, they couldn't. The public needed Hachiko's story. It was comforting, inspiring. But changes were made to the station. Corridors were sealed. Certain exits were permanently closed. Old signs disappeared overnight. People who asked too many questions about the Watcher were quietly transferred or reassigned. When Hachiko died in 1935, something strange occurred. The city mourned him, but the night after his body was taken away, the Watcher vanished too, or so they thought. A month later, someone left a note inside the bronze statue's pedestal. No one knows who found it first, but the words were chilling. I only stayed because the gate was guarded. Now it's open again. You will see me soon. Modern visitors to Shibuya Station still visit the statue. They take selfies, leave flowers, and honor the memory of a faithful dog. But every once in a while, just often enough to be noticed, someone says they see another figure in their photo. A blurred shape, a dark shadow, always just behind the statue, and always watching. Some people say it's just a trick of the light. Others insist it's real. But one thing is clear. The statue of Hachiko may honor a loyal dog, but it also marks the place where something else waited. Something that hasn't stopped watching, and perhaps never will. Next time you're in Shibuya and you walk past Hachiko's statue, don't just look at the dog, look at what's behind him. And if you feel cold, don't turn around, not right away.